Oh dear. So what we've got is a 2014 Ford Mondeo 2 litre Duratorq. The long and the short of it is a couple of the injectors are leaking off too much fuel back to the fuel tank. I'm going to run an injector test in a minute so you can see how it's done, but I'm going to explain how I already know that the injectors are faulty. If I'm sat in this car doing, I don't know, 30 to 40 miles an hour, and I put the throttle pedal flat to the floor and hold it there, I'm putting the engine under load as I try to accelerate hard. Within a few seconds of having the throttle flat to the floor, the car takes a nosedive and goes into limp mode, and service engine now flashes up on the display. I can then pull the car over to the side of the road, switch the ignition off, switch it back on and start it up and drive off, and everything will seem fine again. And it will drive fine again as long as you keep your foot on light throttle in most cases. But as soon as I put my foot down again, it will go back into reduced power mode. So I'll quickly run through this test and just give a brief explanation of what's happening with the fuel system. Unfortunately, injectors taking a dump is a hazard of a common rail fuel system. And like this car's done over 200,000 miles, I guess it's understandable in a way. On any diesel car fuel related problems, the first point of call would be to check your fuel filter or replace it if need be. Because unfortunately, diesel fuel filters these days block up quite quickly, and a bunged up fuel filter can cause all manner of fuel related problems. What's happening is the high pressure fuel pump is pumping fuel into this fuel rail and holding the pressure in the rail and injectors. But if these injectors start leaking off too much fuel back to the tank, the fuel rail can't hold the correct pressure. So your fuel rail pressure sensor here senses that and sends the signal to the ECU that there's not enough pressure in the fuel rail. And that's what puts your car into limp mode. So I've removed the injector cover, and the two wiring plugs here I've strapped out of the way so I can get to the leak off pipes easier. And the fuel rail pressure sensor wire, that needs to come off as well. So the first thing I need to do is remove the injector leak off pipe. There's a little green tab here. If you just prise out gently with a screwdriver, and then you can wriggle your pipe off, and it pops out like that. You don't have to disconnect these leak off pipes from the high pressure fuel pump. Once they're all disconnected from the injectors, just twist them out of the way. I've got some little unions here which were part of a fuel injector leak off test kit, and they're connected to some washer pipe and a little bottle to collect the fuel. So I'm going to connect one of these up to each injector. So my unions, which aren't the best of fits in these injectors, they literally just plug in. And that's all 4 injectors now connected up to the test bottles. I just need to reconnect the fuel rail pressure sensor so the engine will run properly. When I start this engine up, we're going to see how much fuel runs out of these injectors and into these bottles. Now I can tell you straight away, injector number 1 is actually coming out of this pretty fast. In fact, if I pull this lid off this bottle so we can probably see a bit better. See that running out in this number 2 injector? The fuel is literally running out of that pipe. It shouldn't be running out like that. It should be dripping out quite slowly. To give you some kind of idea of how fast the fuel should be travelling along this pipe, it should be going dut, 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 dut. If the fuel travels along them pipes in a continuous stream, the injector's knackered. You know, typically you'd measure how much fuel goes into these bottles over a period of time. But the bottom line is, if you've done enough of these injectors and you've seen enough of these injectors leaking off, you'll get to know how fast the fuel's supposed to travel along them pipes. So this car today really needs 3 injectors in it. Ouch. That's going to cost, to give you a kind of idea of what these injectors cost, they're £204 each. And to change these injectors, which are surprisingly quite easy, just remove your injector pipe and disconnect your wiring connector from the injector. Tuck that out of the way. There's one little Allen key bolt holding a clamp down. You just remove that Allen key bolt. Now I don't need an injector puller to take these injectors out because they ain't that tight. But because we've got a plastic cover here, I'm just going to prise it out with a lever bar. But just be very, very gentle on the plastic cover so you don't crack it. A few little jabs and that should come clean out. Okay, a couple of things to note here with this injector. When you take it out, there's a little copper washer on the end. Make sure that's on the injector, because if that's still stuck down the injector hole, you're going to have to fish it out somehow. Secondly, there's a little plastic sleeve here that probably has to be taken off and fitted to the new injector. But that's what a fuel injector looks like in a 14 plate Mondeo 2 litre Duratorq. And that's obviously the clamp that's going to hold the injector down. See, this clamp will slot through the injector, then obviously the bolt is going to hold the injector to the cylinder head. After you've fitted new injectors to these cars, you are supposed to take the 20-digit code down off the new injector and reprogram it to the car using a scanner. You can put these injectors straight into the car, start it up and run it, and there's a very high chance it'll be perfectly fine. Oh, flipping heck. Well, I hate to break the bad news, but if you've got one of these Mondeos 2 litre Duratorqs and you're getting around about 200,000 miles, you may well have injectors to look forward to. If I'd done a comparison, if I took the Mk4 Mondeo, the 2 litre TDCi, the injectors on them would quite often take a dump about 80,000 miles. So in my findings, these Mk4 Mondeos, Peugeot 2 litre Duratorqs, they're lasting around about 200,000 miles. So it's not that bad when you think about it. Of course I could be wrong, but what I'm seeing is a fleet of taxis day in, day out. And over the years, there's been more than 100 Mk4 2 litre TDCi taxis here. So to me, 200,000 miles is the kind of mileage they're all starting to play up. Anyway, I can't think of nothing more to say on the subject. Any questions, leave a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer it. See ya!